And
so,
like those companies that's those oil companies that had oil spill also are messing around with people's businesses. So
right.
now that you ruin the ocean, now I can't fish and I can't put
Exactly.
food on the plate. And that's the same thing with the cannabis drug dealer in the street that
Yeah.
so don't quote drug dealer, but they were a businessman.
Yes.
They were doing business. And now
Mm-hmm.
you mess up my business for putting me in jail for it. Now you got to pay me back.
And my
So,
family,
yes.
right? And the impacts of that, because it's just not the one individual that's impacted by incarceration. It's
yeah,
the whole family.
Exactly.
yeah. So, and that's one thing that I think when I was looking at your website, that was one thing that I said, that's very interesting. That I never seen an organization like the minority. I can't say names, but there's a lot of organizations out there that's doing work. Advocacy organizations. There's a lot of advocacy organizations that's doing that kind of work, but they don't have that. Like that thing, that was something that I was very excited.
Well, we thank you, and I'm looking to collaborate with other organizations. We want this to be something that happens, nationwide. We want everybody to be a part of this. We want this to be the kind of setting the precedent for what cannabis organizations and companies are doing in terms of the retributive services that they can offer to our community and our folk. And I think this is an opportunity for us to figure out, what and to develop our cannabis constitution and figure out what our expectations are for businesses, right? We can hold ourselves accountable, set precedents, and avoid the over complications of people regulating the industry for us. We can self-regulate this and set our own quality assurance standards and best practices, and how our customers and patients are treated, right? And your patient bill of rights and what they expect, how they expect their service to be, right? And so we're back to not modeling our business model around the product, but more around the consumer and the patient, because that's what's most important. And right now, if you look at the dispensaries, there are a few who are patient friendly and focused, but a lot of them are playing both sides, right? Like they're for the patient, but let me keep it sexy for the right buyer, right? And it's like there's ways to optimize both if we understand what's important and know the why for each.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And it's so important. And like to Freedom's point, it's one thing to say that you're an advocacy organization and you support equity, and a whole other thing to say, I see a huge gap inside what people are saying and what's going to be implemented on the ground. So let's do the work so we can actually implement it and talk the talk and walk the walk. I
look at all their websites and I don't see none of that. I see a lot of, sponsorships, like, sponsor me and do this if you want to become a sponsor. And then they have the sponsorship ladder and all these different things, but they really don't have.
And it's funny, like, and it seems like the larger organizations with the, that are getting with the big pay and donate now buttons, it's like, those are the folks that it's like, how are you not already having this conversation?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're right next to them. And so after that, I was like, okay, so we have to just figure out a way to get in the room. And I think part of it is, people like to do, people want to do what's easy, right? And I'm not easy, right? And so, because I'm from this neighborhood, there's only but so much you can pacify me with, because I have to go home to these people. It's a difference, right? Like, when it's a difference to look like the community than it is to be the community. So if you come to me and you're like, oh, well, yeah, this is what we can do. Yeah, I'm the community. That's not enough, right? And quite frankly, I'm not, I'm the community. I'm not asking you. I'm telling you that this is what you should do, because this is like, you owe us, right? So me coming and asking you gives you more of an opportunity to feel like you're justified to say no. You're not. You're not.
Now I see why you and Pilar are I can see that.
Spicy little something. That's my
I can see that. So, looking through your page again, because I was like, being a little stalker, and I was looking through your page. I saw
that's
that
all we can do nowadays. So
I know you have a pitch competition. So
yes. Well, unfortunately, we had to push it back because of COVID, but we are in partnership with the Black Futurist Alliance group and a couple of other amazing groups in Atlanta. We are going to be hosting our first ever pitch competition. It's to help minority businesses and people of color gain access into the industry. Right now, we are offering 3 different tier prizes. So there'll be 3 different winners, but all of the contestants will be eligible for our like incubator program.
Okay.
That just help you kind of like cultivate your idea, manifest your business, and kind of connect you with resources and opportunities to bring everything to fruition. And so we're going to be giving away everything from cash prizes to marketing assistance to videography services to event space rentals, everything you would need to kind of kick off like your first 2 quarters successfully. You'll be able to have upon winning this competition. And the great thing about this is one of the main focuses of this is that the business, service, or team has to be directly connected to someone who's from the community, a community that's adversely impacted currently, is a part of the reentry or return to citizen community, or a loved one of such. So we want this to be a social cause and a component to whatever it is that the business or services. So whether that's the directly correlated into what the product itself is, or just what you do with your funds, or how you divvy up some of your staffing, there just needs to be some kind of pay into those communities, into that space. And that's kind of one of the things that we'll be looking for. And so we're excited. We have some surprise judges.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
maybe we can come and cover it.
Listen.
We can cover it.
I need coverage. I need
we can
coverage.
make that happen. We can make
Yeah.
that happen. And anybody can enter, or it got to be from Philly. What?
Well, no. So this is going to be based actually in Atlanta, but we are opening up the submissions in the fall for. Well, we probably will have to push that back, but we were planning on doing that this month for our. My kids just walked past. For our. He threw me off. COVID made us push back for a bit. So now what was scheduled to be our fall initiative for the East Coast may go into next spring, depending on what the circumstances are with the gatherings and that sort of thing. So, and if we may adjust to something virtual, but I'm hoping and trying to stay as optimistic as possible about us being released. So.
Yeah, and I love it because a lot of people need help with their business, and this. I don't know if you know women of color in cannabis, woke.
Yes, I'm familiar.
Yeah, so they doing kind of something similar to what you're doing and helping people.
Nice.
Getting their pitches together, getting their business plans together. So doing a lot of
those
in Brooklyn. So I think organizations that's doing that, I give them a plug. Well,
hey,
but organizations like yours and theirs, that they are doing like actual work within the community that they are based in, is something that is needed right now, because a lot of this national organization, they're just doing work nationally and doing work for their people, not for the communities that really need it.
But it's also like the stuff that we're not taught in school.
Yeah.
If we don't come from a family of entrepreneurs or business people, then we don't know it, and so we learn
how to do it.
That's exactly right.
And so if we don't have mentorship programs to help hold our hands and along the way tell us that we also hold someone else's hand behind us, nothing, right? So I think that's super important.
I came out of high school and I didn't even know how to write a check.
Listen, I mean, I was just telling somebody the other day, I was like, listen, if you grow up in a house where Uncle Larry is the family attorney and Cousin Bill or the guy from the golf club is your accountant, and you have these people in your lives, you know who they are, you know what they do, they've been a part of your foundation for so long, it's not foreign to you. For me, it was like, accountant, wait, I need an accountant? It's like a whole thing, right?
I don't have money for an accountant.
Exactly. What are you counting exactly? Because
check. I'm already spending check from 3 months from now. So what are you talking about?
Literally, like y'all, sir, you'll get bored counting my nothing. So there's no need. Don't you even bother. We don't need to account for anything. We ain't got nothing. That's just how it is. And so when you grow up with that, right? And it's like, there is nothing to invest. We have to figure out how next week will happen. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, right? And so there's a different mindset because you're playing to survive. They're playing to win. But that's how they were raised. And so now we have to kind of unlearn and relearn, the business landscape and the whole survival mode thing. Because we're good at surviving. Yeah. We're built for it tough. We'll last all day, but we get so good at it sometimes we'll just look around, we'll look up and realize that we done withstood everything. And we didn't necessarily have to. It was like we just did it because we know we can. We can take it. That's all. Let them have it. It's all right. We'll be okay. We'll survive. Don't worry. We'll figure it out. And we always do, right? And there's always the next day and a new tomorrow. But at the end of the day, it's like, how many times are we going to continue to just, we can. It's no shame in it at all. But it's just growing stronger and more resilient is only going to serve us but so well for so long, right? It's like now we should be able to enjoy the abundance.
What about what challenges you've experienced as a woman of color in the cannabis industry?
Being the only person that looks like me in the room, I had to speak from a space that they can respect and understand, but also is authentic. I come from, a very rough neighborhood, and so I don't really take lightly to large, groups of suited white men, saying what's best for, my zip code. It's not even my community. It's just my zip code. So, for me, the hardest part is remembering that I am there to teach people, and not everything should be taken as sensitively as sometimes I probably would, because I have a big affinity for, my people, my culture. I'm very protective. And I think that I can be very easily offended. And so for a while I had to work on understanding that they're not necessarily coming from a place of disrespect, more of a place of misunderstanding, and it's our job to educate them. And even when they are, or they're not interested in being educated, it's still my job to set the tone, right? And explain and do what I need to do from my platform, from where I am, right? And kind of avoiding the whole meeting people where you are thing. That's cool until you got to go low, and it's like now you down here for no reason, right? And so I believe in meeting people where they are, but to an extent. And so I just had to really polish up my ability to even deal with other people of color in the space who may not share my enthusiasm or my initiative, my concern for certain initiatives or lack thereof. That's probably a harder pill to swallow than having to feel like I'm combative, going against the other people. For me, it's and the monetized tokenism, right, where it becomes profitable to talk about,
say that again? What you said?
Monetized tokenism.
Yo, that was like.
That's a powerful.
Yo, you summed everything that I feel in those two words right there.
And it's funny because you think about how many times you watch these panels come up about conversations about inclusivity and diversity, and they're expensive venues, fancy meals, nice platforms, cool venues, and it's like you could have used half of that and helped double the amount of people in that room from our community. I guarantee you. And I guarantee you nobody would have ever cared about anything that was said on that panel. That's the same conversation y'all been having for the last 6 years. About the same thing with the same people.
In the same rooms.
In the same room. And at this point, now we have to start looking at hold on, who's sponsoring all this shit? Excuse my language, but who's paying for this? Because we need to go directly to the funding source and say, yeah, we got something way better you can be doing with your money. Because this right here ain't it, right? Like you can do this amongst your own time with some other folks, and this is not it. This is not productive. This is not helping people understand. What this does is make people feel like, you know what? I tried. I did something today.
Yeah, and they feel good.
The movement. I helped the cause.
Yeah.
I went out there and did something special for somebody else, when in all actuality that was just to pacify your own, innate feelings of inadequacy for what you've been doing or lack thereof in this space.
Exactly.
Yo, there was an event that I went to. I mean, they had equity all over it. Equity, and then they had it in a place where 65% of the people that live there are white. You can't say Caucasian no more.
Why? Because Caucasian's a fake term. Yeah.
So they were white, and those people that live in that neighborhood, they're not getting arrested, they're not getting harassed, they're not, for selling the cannabis. So you're talking about equity. And then when I mention, because every time I go to a meeting, I always ask the same fucking question. I don't care. When are you going to have this meeting in the projects?
In the hood.
You should have this meeting in the projects. And one of the people that was organizing, a black woman, she said, well, while I was dancing in the Apollo, I was doing my show. And when I came out to take a smoke break, one of the security guards was looking at me wrong, telling me that, why am I smoking? I'm black older man. Why am I smoking? Our communities don't want to make money in the industry. They don't want to demystify the plant. So don't talk to me about going to the neighborhood, because I've tried. I'm like, yo, that's one person, first of all. And those are the people you need to really be hammering with a hammer.
And right.
Like what are you talking about?
It kills me, and it's so frustrating because, it's funny, I've had an experience like that. Like I'm, going to, straight to an organization. It was like, listen, the people who need to be in this room cannot afford this ticket price.
Yes.
It's like, and they literally said to me, well, they're not for this event. But the event was for them. And it was like, okay, you lost me, dude. I don't even know what to do with that. Like, I don't know what to even do with that, dude. Like, I can't.
Listen, if it wasn't for weed, if it wasn't for smoking, I would have been like, if it wasn't for,
because they don't know. And see, that's what I keep saying. Like, it's different from somebody who look like they from the community, who's actually from the community. Y'all lucky I smoke now. Like, y'all lucky,
that I don't have all that stress right now on my back.
A nice alternative holistic medicine to keep us calm, because Lord knows. Lord knows.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So
y'all are so cute.
Could you talk to us about what legalization and advocates for legalization look like? What does that space look like in Pennsylvania?
It looks like a lot of different things right now, because we have a lot of different people who are going into a lot of different directions for the same good cause, right? We're a bit broken up. There's, like I said, a lot of different spaces that people could be tapping into collectively, I think, that we aren't. But I'm hoping that with the upcoming expungement week, this will be a project that I can kind of pull everybody together in one and kind of use folks to, to their skills. We have people in the space who are doing some dope things that I think that, again, if we just had some reinforcement and some support behind one another, would do very well. Right now we are kind of fighting this whole COVID cannabis, what the industry will look like, what the legalization, what the ex-offender space is going to look like, how are we combating this, how are we talking about this, and then mainly, my biggest thing right now is, of course, my program and my return to citizen folk are my priority. But my biggest conversation now is, this can't be an essential business and a Schedule 1.
Yeah,
it can't be.
Make no sense.
Can't be. I'm quite frankly, I'm surprised there's not a bunch of niggas hanging from the White House poles screaming.
Yeah, right now.
As adamant as folks have been about the whole Schedule 1 thing and the classification. And, I've seen a lot of people be really up in arms and passionate about it, right? But
But now
this
they're
right
happy that
here
it's an
seems like,
essential business now.
yeah, but this right here seems like this is the thing, right? Like this seems like this is the conversation. There shouldn't be a way that we can let them up on this one, right? Like because it can't be an essential business and also not medicinally beneficial. It can't be both. And so now that you've declared it essential, that means obviously there's some medicinal benefit to it. That in turn automatically means that this should not be on Schedule 1 anymore, right? And so, i.e., now we need to have a conversation about reclassification. What stands, where cannabis stands, making sure that this is not something that's illegal anymore. And how are we vacating these convictions? How are we getting these people their lives back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, the frustrating thing is the only fight we have now left is them not wanting to go back on something that they said, right? Mm-hmm. Like this, it's not science behind it. It's not, it's not criminal rates behind it. It's not anything statistical data, and it's not anything tangible behind their argument of why this should be a Federal a Schedule 1, classified substance, and why it should not be legal, other than the fact that they already said that it shouldn't be. Like there's nothing else, right? And so now we should just keep pushing. This should not be something that we let up on. This shouldn't be something that we let slide, right? And I know a lot of folks who are, up in arms and like, yo, I'm a cannabis business, we're essential, but I got like 10 months of operating costs left.
Yeah.
We don't get funding. Like now we need to start having conversations and pull those people in. And listen, give me those last 3 months of funding and toss them to this advocacy group so we can get this ball rolling and make sure that you don't have to worry about that next 3, quarters of support.
I'm running with you. I'm rolling with you.
Like,
I'm rolling with you.
That's so crazy, right? I thought it was just me. I'm like, I gotta be tripping. Like, it must be something I ain't read yet. So I ain't saying it out loud because I don't want. Let me wait until I got all the information. Because
I'm gonna blurt this out. I'm gonna blurt this out. So you was talking about expungement week. So what is expungement week, and how is Cannabis Noire, right? Noire?
Oh yeah.
Involved.
Expungement week. Yeah. I love Expungement Week. I was so excited to be a part of it. So Expungement Week is a multi-city activation that was spearheaded by Adam Vine and Tori Marshall. Shout out to Tori Marshall and We Bake and Adam Vine and the new crew. But they came up with this concept that we would have this 1 week of focusing on criminal justice and reform and expungements and helping people who are incarcerated. Of course, definitely about cannabis conventions, but this is about everybody. This is about incarceration. It's about social reform. This is about us making sure that prisoners are treated fairly, that people are getting, proper treatment, that they're getting, due processes, that they're not being arrested on crazy charges in small towns and being held for years and years. Like, this is about those things, right? And so while I do love the attention that it gets from the cannabis industry, I'm very, very, very insistent on the industry having a big role in Expungement Week. This is for everybody, right? And so, I'm calling on the Ubers and the Lyfts and the subways and all these folks are going to get a letter from me if they haven't already gotten one.
Yeah.
But this is about making sure that we're offering opportunities for those people. So typically we host a lot of different events during that week, at the same time all over the country. And there are expungement clinics, record sealings, registration events. We did a community benefit resource fair where we had everybody from like public assistance and like American Red Cross and like do diabetes screenings and registration for medicinal cards and like this whole big thing. We actually held it in the church, so there was no apprehension, no need to be worried about getting your card or getting arrested or having warrants or anything like that. So it was a really good opportunity for us to really connect with that community. And once we saw that there was a need and people were willing to invest and making sure that we were able to support them, we had like Black Men Hill Dine and Dialogue event that was part of Expungement Week. We did a lot of like mental health and like yoga and meditation with some different organizations. And so we just kind of tapped into everything we felt like that would be needed, from like housing support and resource fairs and like job and trainings and like everything we could do and jam pack into that week to let them know like, hey, this is what we need. This is what we need to follow up on. This is the group I need to talk to regularly. I need housing, so this is where I need to be. So we just wanted to make sure there was enough resources available for everybody. And then after that, people kept coming back and kept calling, and we reached out and folk were like, yeah, we'll still help. So we was like, yeah, we'll still help you. And so it kind of kept going on. And so now we're gearing up for 2020. A lot of what will happen will probably be a lot of, like telecommunication stuff, right? Depending on what this looks like. But that's cool because we have like Cool for America. We have a bunch of other different groups that are based in tech and STEM and Black girls in STEM and science that are driving for us to have, opportunities for us to do like online expungement clinics and, do some legal aid clinics in person. Via telecommunication. So I think there's, going to be a great opportunity for anybody who needs the assistance and the resources still, no matter how we do it. But we're in the process of planning that out now. We have like our first official like collective meeting call coming up pretty soon. I think it's like on 420. So we're excited. Yay.
Yeah, we're excited for that because this year we're gonna be definitely more involved in the Expungement Week. I told Pilar that I'm gonna follow her like a stalker. I'm gonna be
like white on red.
Yes,
be on her to make sure that that this happens, and I'm excited for Expungement Week for this year.
For sure.
Yeah, me too. I'm so excited.
Could you tell us a little bit about what your friends and your family have said about your work?
It depends on who you ask, honestly.
It depends. Family member.
I don't have a lot of family left.
Okay.
But my family is very like they know me, so they're like, I think more so it's like it was more like how'd you pull that off? What are you doing? Like what's happening? Like, who'd you make a deal with? Like you're out here doing stuff. What's going on? I come from like a space where, before I started this, I was regional marketing director for Chick-fil-A Atlanta. And so I worked pretty heavily in the corporate space, but in a very like, not restrictive, but a very like traditional space. Like I'm tall. So like a lot of times my skirts, if I sit down, they'll come above my knee because I'm taller, even if they're not, even if their knees limb, because I'm 5'10". But it was like, can you put something on your legs? It's like, it's my kneecap, bro. Like, I don't know how to cover up. I'm not going to do that. Right. Yeah. And like, and so I come from that space. So to go from a space where, I was consulting people on the side and doing marketing, branding, and sales for a company like Chick-fil-A and had that image to like, selling stoner girl mugs, smoking hemp on Instagram it's a little different, right? And so I think a lot of people who see it from like my past corporate experiences are like, oh wow, like, whereas though like there's like a strong like 60% of them who are just like, I didn't know, like, call me, like, I didn't know you smoked, where can I, like, they're like, oh my God, like, I didn't, so for them, it's just like, oh, or you made it okay to say something, so now here I am saying something, like, so, it's pretty cool. The most difficult things that I have to deal with is I have a 13-year-old, so,
navigating through
luckily having a kid and explaining weed to a kid is hard because you have to explain that it's medicine, but then why they can't use it, but why some kids can use it, but why so there's a lot of different but my son's very my son's not interested at all. So he's very like, like he's
okay.
very like,
you made it
yeah,
okay.
he's like, is this yours? I don't think, you know, like, can you get this out of,
We're leaving it all around.
Yeah, like,
my friends are coming and
yours?
looking at your roaches.
Is this yours? Like, he's very like, can you get your things away, please? They're near my Legos. Thanks. Like, that. So he's not at all like interested or like, but he does think it's funny. Like he does make the correlation when he sees stuff like on TV and they're like, you know, doing stoner stuff and they're like being all like oddie and like, he was like, Mom, they're making fun of your work again. It was like,
yes.
It's like, okay, at least he knows that that's not normal. So that's good. So
for sure. So we've come to the segment of our show called Just for Fun. So we ask a couple of questions just for fun and we just go from there. So what age were you when you first smoked? What did you smoke and how was your experience?
I was in college. I wasn't, you know,
Late bloomer?
Late
bloomer?
Yeah, I guess
me
because
too.
everybody's okay. Because I mean, most people I talk to, I said it like that because most people are like, I was 14. It was like,
yes. I was 22.
I was in 4-H. I don't know what you guys were doing, but I was at the after school program in real life. Like I didn't. No, sorry, not till I was. No, but I was in college. A friend of mine, Birdie, her name's Tamika, but her nickname's Birdie, and we're still friends today. She let me, you know, try some of her joint, and I'm sorry, it was a blunt. It was just like, I don't know what kind it was, and quite frankly, I don't think she did either. Like it was college. I think it was like it looked like weed, it smelled like weed, let's smoke it. And so she was like, well, we gotta sit in the car and roll the windows up so that none of the air gets out or whatever. And I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting in the car and I hit it a couple of times and I was like, well, I don't really feel anything. I was like, you guys bought like something else because this just stinks. Like it doesn't. And, you know, I was always the non-smoker. Like I was, you know, in Great American Smoke Out campaign and Just Quit and all that. Like, you know, but I come from a place where they're sitting on my step smoking weed, like as I go out to go to school, like the neighborhood guys are on my step smoking weed. So it's like I'm familiar, but it was always something that those folk did. So when you got around intelligent, cultured, professionals, seeming young adults who were still partaking, it was like, oh, well, I guess it's not this whole like,
not that bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad. You know, like Birdie smoking, I guess I could try it. And like I tried, and you know, I took a couple puffs, and so yeah, I don't feel anything or whatever. And then we got into the house. We were at a Sigma party. We got into the house, and she gave me a drink, and we were standing there, and I just remember feeling very like laughy. I just wanted to laugh. I was just like, everything was so funny. I was like, and she was like, I was like, I think I'm high, and she was like, I think you are too. Like it was like, yeah, like duh, you just smoked it. I was like, wait, is this what it feels like? She was like, what do you feel? I was like, high. She was like, I don't know. I don't know. What do you? Okay, yes, that's what it feels like. And so, from there, you know, I wasn't really like, you know, into it, but a couple of other experiences. And, you know, I was really, really stressed about some projects that were coming up. And I was just like, you know, but I wasn't around anybody who smoked. And of course, I'd only had the experience a couple of times, but I knew it would mellow me out because I distinctly remember, you know, later on that evening when I got home, I was like, you know, I just felt like very lax. I was like, this is like the best sleep in this bed I've ever gotten. Like my roommate is just cool as shit today. Like, I don't know what it is, but I'm digging her vibe today. I've never liked her the whole semester. Now it's like, I like her, something about her. Like, and so, you know, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna try it because I'm stressed and I need to do this. And it was like that moment where it was like, okay, you found somebody finally to get the weed from, because that was a process if you never bought it yourself. So I had to find a person. I had to do the drug deal. It was like this whole thing, right? It was like, it wasn't like just copping now because I'm a seasoned vet. It's like, oh, here's a drug deal. This is what I have to do. Here's my bandana. Here's my mask. You know, I'm going to have my money already together. I'm going to slide it between my fingers. And so that it just goes, you don't even see. It was like, yo, like,
you gotta
so freaked out for no reason. You know, right. I got a raincoat on with a big collar. Like, I'm like, yo, it was so unnecessary. And then I was like, all right, cool. I got through that. right? I met him at Shannon parking lot, came back down behind the building, boom, I had it, was ready. Got back to the dorm, had the rap, and it was like, you don't know how to roll. Oh my God. So now I'm sitting there and I'm like, I didn't break it up right. Cause you know, of course now I know, but looking back, it was like, I didn't really break it up right. I just don't, I'm like putting it in there, trying to get it around. It's too wet on some places, dry in the other place. It's ripping apart. I'm trying to, like, literally, it was like, I had to put like my fingers strategically all the way down it and like smoke it like a flute, because it was just like, yeah, like, and I'm literally and because I'm new, you know, it only took a couple of good puffs, and I was like,
I'm good.
But now, oh brother, I'm so mad to this day. I'm like, you wasted so much
weed. Yeah. So if you could smoke with anybody, dead or alive, who would you smoke with, and what would you talk about?
Probably Malcolm X. Like before he was Malcolm X.
Oh, okay. Malcolm
like
Little?
Ratchet. I would talk to Ratchet Malcolm X, who was selling weed to the jazz players. I'd be very interested to see like what that space looked like. Like I would just want to follow him around and smoke with him while he did his deliveries to like John Coltrane and like Dizzy Gillespie and like random crazy jazz artists in Langston Hughes' like writing room. Like what? Like, because it's different being the dealer, right? Like you just get a different perspective of people and how things move and how things happen. So it's like I would probably go that route, like pre-Malcolm X.
Awesome. So what's next for your company? What are some of your short and long-term goals?
Oh, well, of course, Expansion Week is coming up. We are working on some product stuff. We have some products that are going to be coming out soon that we're excited about. We're doing a lot of advocacy work and legislation work, both here in Atlanta. We're working on rehab in a prison in Atlanta.
Wow.
We're working on some community garden stuff here in Philly. Trying to get folks growing, food sovereignty. I'm from a food desert community, so I know what that life is like.
We really definitely we have a nonprofit. We do food justice work. So
shut up. See? No, yeah, like I'm really, that's like one of my big things now is like I was literally, Chinese store, bodega,
chicken spot,
poor supermarket, fast food space. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Right. And so like there was never like I had a health scare at one point last year, and I had to change my diet, and unfortunately it was like no processed foods, no chips, no this, no milk, and it was like I literally could eat the fruit from the granola cup at McDonald's. That was the only thing I could eat in 7 blocks in every direction in my neighborhood. Like I kept track of it, and I kept thinking, I'm like, well, this is the stuff that's going to keep me from getting cancer. Then how can I, like, why are they okay to eat it every day, like all the time? Generations of us, Chinese store, Puerto Rican store, fried, like it's never, and so food sovereignty, growing your own food, being able to have access to organic options that aren't sky high is super important. So I'm all the way with that. We definitely got to talk more about that.
Sure. And our last question is, what piece of advice would you give a listener who is interested in starting a business in the cannabis industry?
There's so many things I would love to say, but you know what? Honestly, the main thing is know your why. Like, know your why, know what brought you to this space, why you're doing what you're doing, because no matter what changes, i.e. COVID-19, right? Like, our why isn't different. Our process to get the results of the why are different, right? Like, that's the only thing that changes when you know your why. It's like nothing can throw you off, nothing can stop you, nothing can get your way, because it's just a matter of you finding another alternative method to your end goal. And that's the same end goal as it was before, right? So when you go into this and you're like, oh, you know what? Edibles are popping. I'm going to do edibles. That's my thing, right? And then something happens in the entire process from which you're allowed to even make those changes, right? Now you're like, oh, crap. What am I going to do? I don't know, because the why, the edibles wasn't the why. It was just something you were interested in, right? Like if you're saying, you know, like I want to do something to improve people's gut health long term, right? And make sure they're eating properly or whatever. Like then now it's like, okay, it's not even about edibles, it's about the food. It's about teaching them about healthy consumption. It's about teaching them how to, you know, mix and do ratios properly, right? And so again, it's
a
just
whole different thing than just baking the edibles. You know?
Exactly, right? And like, and so if you know your why, you know, and you know what your end goal is and what your end result is, everything else is just the journey.
That's right. That's right. So, if our listeners want to get in touch with you, how would they get in touch with you? How can they reach? How can they find you? How can they reach you?
Well, we're all over the place. So you can find us on Instagram for sure at cannabis_noire, and that's NOIRE. We're also on Facebook as Cannabis Noire. We're also on Twitter now. Lord help us.
Yeah.
Twitter. So that's also Cannabis Noire. And our website is www.cannabisnoire.com. We'll be putting up a lot of information. We got a COVID-19 resource link for small business owners and people who are looking to get resources and assistance. We have registration links for cannabis cards. We have National Expungement Week info going to be posting soon. So this is definitely a good place to come for resources. And we also love to hear from people who want to offer resources, because we want to make sure we're sharing as much as we can with as many people as possible.
Thank you so much. This was great.
Yes.
This was a great conversation.
Yes, it was.
I had so much fun with y'all.
Yeah, thank you so much. And yes, this has been another episode of BlueDream Radio. As always, I'm your host, Freedom.
And I'm Ellie G.
See you next week. Peace.
Out.
Thank you so much, Sheena.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Don't hang up.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
It was good. I had fun. I love it. It was so cool. That's probably one of the better like virtual ones I've done.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's gonna be out in 2 weeks. If you can send me your bio and a picture.
Okay.
With that. If you send me an email with that, that'd be great. Yeah.
Awesome sauce. I can do that.
One of our little ones. Say hi.
Oh, hi, little one. You're so cute.
She's 9.
She's like, thank you. I know.
All kids are like that.
I hear it all the time. I love her hair. That's what, it's funny. My son's the same way. Like he snuck back upstairs now, but I was like, oh, God, he's probably downstairs for another snack. Hi. Oh, look at the little one.
Yeah. He's 11 today. It's 11 months today.
Oh my God, look at you. With the dog. I cannot.
We have.
Look at her. Yeah. Yes, the dog.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have a pack house.
We have a brood. Yes.
I see. Godspeed. Because I'm in here with one and I'm like, why don't you use your school stomach? Go all day long and don't eat it.
Yo, you know what's funny? And you know what's funny?
Stomach, yes.
You know what's funny? Because she don't like to eat. The oldest one, she don't like to eat during school time. But now she wants to eat everything.
This boy will starve himself all day till 3 o'clock. Mom, the lunch was nasty. I didn't want that. The day